Think of this. 10 years ago, picking up a phone stamped made in India was a rarity. Today, many of us are using devices manufactured on our own soil, be it your smartphone, your smartwatch, or even your TV. So, how did we get here? And why do many experts claim that manufacturing, more than any other sector, may be the key to India's economic future? Let's delve into the good, the bad, and the history that got us here. First, a cautionary tale. Once upon a time, West Bengal stood tall as one of the India's foremost industrial hubs. Then the Communist Party's rule arrived. Lasting over 3 decades, on one fateful day, industrialist Aditya Birla was yanked out of his vehicle in Kolkata, paraded in his undergarments by goons and militant trade unionists, effectively signaling that factory owners and business leaders were unwelcome. Birla fled to Bombay, never to return. This event wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a turning point. Factories began closing, entrepreneurs sought friendlier states, and Bengal's industrial flame dimmed. The communist leadership championed labor rights, but in practice, militant trade unions, endless gheeraus, and bureaucratic barriers spelled doom for what had once been a vibrant manufacturing economy. While parts of India certainly replicated this confusion, heavy bureaucracy, inconsistent policies, and red tape, some regions instead embraced businesses. In states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Gujarat, you see clusters of automotive, electronics, and aerospace industries flourishing. This is one reason that, despite many missteps, India ranks today as the 6th largest manufacturing economy globally, with about 2.87% of the world's manufacturing output. It's still a fraction of China's 31.63%, but it shows how India is inching upwards. If West Bengal's story highlights what went wrong, then China's success in manufacturing demonstrates the flip side: relentless government focus, massive industrial zones, quick land acquisition, streamlined policies for foreign investors, and top-tier infrastructure. China's communist regime ironically did the opposite of West Bengal, actively coating factories and making them globally competitive. That early head start helped Beijing dominate multiple industries as Chinese manufactured goods filled global shelves. Meanwhile, India, under successive Congress-led governments post-independence, flirted with industrialization but got bogged down by licensing issues, labyrinth labor laws, and poor infrastructure, factors that made it easier for companies to shift to China. However, the tide has shifted in recent years. India has observed how China's dominance leaves global supply chains vulnerable to disruptions and realized it holds a valuable card: a young workforce, improving infrastructure, and an economy that, despite many obstacles, continues to grow at a robust pace. The government is doubling down on manufacturing through initiatives like Make in India and the production-linked incentive schemes launched in 2020. In doing so, authorities are trying to tackle some of the classic bottlenecks: outdated technology, a shortage of skilled labor, tricky land acquisition, and too much bureaucracy. The result? As of May 2024, global majors like Samsung, PepsiCo, and GE have poured significant sums into Indian factories, some setting up new R&D centers or forging partnerships with local startups. The Made in India phone you might be holding right now is part of an entire ecosystem that did not exist a decade ago. For example, India has become the world's second largest mobile phone manufacturing hub, benefiting from the PLI scheme that has brought in over $17 billion across 14 sectors. Millions of new jobs have been created. The automotive industry is another bright spot. In 2022, India overtook Japan to become the world's 3rd largest vehicle market, and multiple electric vehicle and battery makers have arrived, confident in India's future. While these success stories are positive, it's worth acknowledging that we are still playing catch-up. China's single province, Guangdong, can rival entire mid-sized nation in manufacturing output. Then there's the services versus manufacturing debate that's taken center stage in India policy circles. On one side, you have economists like Raghuram Ranjan and Rohit Lamba, who argue that India should not develop a manufacturing fetish at the expense of the service sector. They point to India's strong track record in IT services and caution against funneling too many subsidies into manufacturing efforts if global demand won't absorb all the new industrial output. They also question whether India is prepared to produce complex goods at scale if its workforce remains underskilled. Rajan and Lamba believe the money might be better spent upskilling people for higher value service roles, including advanced manufacturing services like chip design, rather than the more capital intensive project of chip fabrication. However, another school of thought, championed by economists like Dr. Biswanath Goldar, sees manufacturing as India's tried and true growth engine. Goldar's data suggests that over the last couple of decades, manufacturing may have contributed far more to India's GVA than commonly assumed, simply because of measurement methods that underestimate its output. Further, the manufacturing sector's growth stimulates domestic supply chains, creates massive downstream employment, and addresses strategic vulnerabilities like dependence on imported components. Somnath Mukherjee, a veteran wealth management consultant, also notes that an over-reliance on services can worsen trade deficits, forcing India to import more manufactured goods from abroad, particularly from China, and leaving it geopolitically vulnerable. China's recent lockdowns and trade disputes with the West have sparked what global analysts call the China plus one strategy, where companies seek to diversify their production bases. India competes against the likes of Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia, all offering low labor cost, improving infrastructure, and business-friendly regulations. Yet, India's advantages include a massive local market, ongoing improvements in logistical connectivity, and supportive government policies. According to a Deloitte report, inbound mergers and acquisitions grew to 41% of total M&A deals in 2023, reflecting foreign interest in tapping India's manufacturing potential. State governments too compete with each other by providing tax breaks, single window clearances, and cheap land for factories. The data is equally encouraging for the future. India's capital expenditure on infrastructure development has grown to an estimated $133.3 billion for financial year 2024 to 25, fueling roads, ports, and railways, essential building blocks for manufacturing expansion. Total FDI inflows during financial year 23 to 24 were about $17.96 billion, and economists are betting that India's production output could reach $1 trillion in exports by 2030. Such ambitious targets hinge on whether the country can overcome a few persistent hurdles. One challenge is bridging the skills gap. It's not enough to have millions of workers. They also need training for modern production lines that increasingly rely on automation and advanced analytics. Another is land acquisition, which has often triggered protest and slowed large-scale industrial projects. Meanwhile, regulatory complexity remains an ongoing annoyance. Though India's ease of doing business ranking has improved drastically from 142 in 2014 to 63 in 2020. There's room to cut more red tape and adopt consistent rules across states. Infrastructure and technology adoption plays huge roles. As advanced economies adopt automation, robotics, IoT, and AI, India must follow suit to stay competitive. The State of Smart Manufacturing report shows that Indian companies are leading the world in deploying digital solutions, and many local factories now integrate automation to raise efficiency. This blend of technology and human capital could be India's ace in the hole. Lower wages only help so much. Truly competitive manufacturing environments rely on innovation and robust supply chains. It helps that companies like Siemens, ABB, and Honeywell invest heavily in Indian R&D and localized production processes. But let's not ignore what's possibly the central reason manufacturing can be the key to India's growth: jobs. In a country with a population nearing 1.5 billion, a service-dominant approach, mostly reliant on tech-driven or high-skilled positions, cannot absorb the sheer number of young people entering the labor force each year. Manufacturing, if done right, offers pathways for a wide range of skill sets, from low-skill assembly to high-skill robotics engineering. Think back to West Bengal's downfall. One of the largest single blows to that economy was the loss of manufacturing, which effectively froze out countless middle-income jobs. Meanwhile, states embracing industry have been able to lift local populations out of poverty much faster. So, is manufacturing alone the magic bullet? Perhaps not. A purely manufacturing-focused economy can be as risky as a purely service-based one. Indeed, an ideal model may be a hybrid approach. Harness the potential of manufacturing for mass-scale employment and to reduce trade deficits while also pushing innovation in IT, finance, and emerging service sectors. But given India's size and the immediate need to generate broad-based employment, a strengthened manufacturing base might well be the only saving grace that prevents us from a lopsided vulnerable growth story. After decades of losing out to China and grappling with internal policy missteps, India seems finally prepared for a big leap. Government ministries speak openly of wanting manufacturing shares of GDP to climb from 16% to around 25% by 2047, the centenary of India's independence. They have poured funds into specialized industrial corridors, encouraged local firms to form joint ventures with multinationals, and taken steps to reduce compliance burdens. The question, as always, how will they manage execution? Will we see more examples of corporate sabotage, as we did in the 1980s West Bengal? Or will we see a streamlined technology-driven future that ignites the next wave of economic boom? History shows that manufacturing can transform societies, raising incomes and living standards on a massive scale. India has a window of opportunity that might not be open forever. Global shifts away from China, new technology, and strong domestic demand offer a sweet spot that rarely occurs in global economics. Capitalizing on it will require an alignment of policy, infrastructure, skills training, and above all, political will. In other words, the conditions are ripe. It's now on us, governments, industry leaders, and citizens to decide if manufacturing will indeed be the path that cements India's rise as a global economic powerhouse, or if we'll let another golden window slip away. The stakes couldn't be higher for the millions of aspiring Indians who need quality jobs today, and for India's long-term dream of reaching that coveted status of a $5 trillion economy and beyond. Will manufacturing be our salvation? The next decade may well provide that answer, and it will be etched in countless Made in India labels around the world. This is Mayank. See you in the next one.